Hello and welcome to this week's e-learning assignments. This week we'll be taking a look at two-step equations, and this is a review topic. Before we get started, I just want to say I truly miss all of you and hope that you're doing well. If you have any questions or just want to reach out and talk to me, you can email me at esutherland@acsc.net. I would be more than happy to talk to any of you. Again, today we're going to take a look at two-step equations. Your assignment is really just going to be 10 two-step equations. You can complete the assignment up to 3 times. So if we look at problems number 1 and number 3, these are really the two types of problems that you're going to have. Now, they may be written in a little bit different order. For example, if you look at number 4, it's a little bit different, and number 2 is a little bit different than number 1. But they're really the same steps. Now, typically when we're solving problems that do not have variables in them or letters, we go order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, whichever one comes first, left to right, addition and subtraction, whichever one comes first, left to right. When we have a variable, it's like you're trying to find that lost number. So instead of working the problem forward, you're going to work the problem backwards. So there's really only 4 possible things that you can do. You can do the inverse, which means the opposite of addition. You can do the inverse of subtraction. You can do the inverse of multiplication. Or you can do the inverse of division. And again, you're still going to do whichever one comes first, left to right. Now, these problems are called two-step problems, which means that they only have 2 steps to do them. Now, and they're always going to be the inverse of addition, inverse of subtraction, or inverse of multiplication, or inverse of division. If we look at number 1, we can see that this problem says n divided by 10 plus 5. So the first thing you're going to do is the inverse of addition. I want to do the inverse of addition because of this plus 5. My ultimate goal is to get that n by itself. So the inverse, the opposite of plus 5, would be minus 5. And you're going to do this from both sides of the equation. And sometimes I like to draw a little line to separate each side through the equal sign. Now, what ultimately happens is n over 10 just drops straight down. These cancel each other out. Equal sign's going to drop down. 4 minus 5. Let's say that you're not very good at addition and subtraction. So you can always use Desmos. So if you want to use Desmos, 4 minus 5 is negative 1. And you go back to your paper, negative 1. Now I've got n divided by 10 equals negative 1. The next step would be to do is the inverse of division. And the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. And again, what happens is these cancel each other out. The n drops down. Equal sign drops down. And then you got negative 1 times 10. Again, you can use Desmos if you'd like. Negative 1 times 10 is negative 10. And so now you have n equals negative 10. Now, on your Canvas assignment, the only thing you're going to enter into the answer is negative 10. Make sure you don't put any spaces in between your negative sign and your 10. Again, this is all you'll type in on the Canvas part. The n equals is already there. All right, looking at number 2, this time we're going to go through these and do these a little bit differently. We want to get rid of this negative 1. Now, I say -1, but understand that -1 and -1 mean the same thing. So this is really going to be the inverse of subtraction. And so we're going to add 1 here. We're going to add 1 here. Again, you're more than welcome to use Desmos. These cancel out. A over 1 drops down. And -1 plus 1 is simply 0. The next step would be to do the inverse of division, because it's a divided by 1. So times 1 on both sides. These cancel out. A drops down. 0 times 1 is simply 0. And so again, the only thing you'll enter into Canvas is simply 0. Looking at number 3, this time we got 3 minus 7 times v equals -18. So the first thing you want to do here, we want to get rid of this +3. Well, +3 and +3 mean the same thing. So we're really going to do the inverse of addition. And so we're going to -3. We're going to -3 on the other side as well. If you want to draw the line there, you're more than welcome to. These cancel out. Now be careful here. Make sure you bring down that negative sign with the 7. And -18 minus 3 is -21. Now we're going to do the inverse of multiplication. And the inverse of multiplication is simply divide by -7. And v drops down. These cancel out. Equal sign drops down. -21 divided by -7 is a +3. Remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And the only thing you'll enter into Canvas would be the number 3. Again, these are two-step equations to review. So if you feel confident enough that you understand what you're doing, you're more than welcome to skip the video at this point and just complete the problems. Number 4, we're going to start out with the inverse of addition and subtract 3 from both sides. 4v drops down. These cancel out. 27 minus 3 is 24. Now we're going to do the inverse of multiplication. We're going to divide by 4 on both sides. The 4's cancel out. V is equal to 24 divided by 4 is 6. And then the only thing that you would enter into Canvas would be the number 6. Number 5, we're going to do the inverse of addition first. Subtract 10 from both sides of the equal sign. N divided by 4 drops down. Equal sign drops down. These cancel out. 15 minus 10 is 5. And then to do the opposite, we're going to do inverse of division. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4. And we're going to cancel out here. N is going to be equal to 5 times 4, which is 20. And then the only thing you would enter into Canvas again would be simply the number 20. Looking at number 6, we're going to start with the inverse of subtraction. We're going to add 2 to both sides. Again, you're more than welcome to use Desmos. 4k is going to drop down. These cancel out. The equal sign drops down. -66 plus 2. A negative plus a positive means that you're going to really subtract. So 66 minus 2 is 64. And then because 66 is bigger, we're going to keep the negative sign. The last step is to do the inverse of multiplication, which means that we're going to divide both sides by 4. K drops down. These cancel out. Equal sign drops down. -64 divided by a +4 is going to be a negative number. And then 64 divided by 4 is 16. Again, you're more than welcome to use Desmos to check that, but the only thing you would answer into Canvas is -16. Number 7, we're going to start with the inverse of subtraction. Remember, a negative number at the front is the same as subtracting 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. These cancel out. 10b drops down. Equal sign drops down. 91 plus 9 is 100. We're now going to do the inverse of multiplication and divide both sides by 10. These cancel out. B drops down. It's equal to 100 divided by 10 is simply 10. The only thing that you would enter into Canvas would be the number 10. Number 8, we're going to start by doing the inverse of addition. We're going to subtract 6 from both sides. These cancel out. Negative 6m drops down. Equal sign drops down. 66 minus 6 is 60. Now we're going to do the inverse of multiplication. Divide both sides by negative 6. These cancel out. M is equal to, a positive divided by a negative is negative. 60 divided by 6 is 10. And so the answer that you're going to enter into Canvas is negative 10. Again, make sure that you don't put a space between your negative sign and your number. Looking at number 9, we're going to start with the inverse of addition, which can seem weird because it's you see the subtraction sign, but really the positive 7's got to be taken away. So these cancel out. Negative 2k drops down. Equal sign drops down. Negative 5 minus 7. What you're really going to do here is you're going to add and you're going to keep the negative sign. So 5 plus 7 is 12 and keep the negative sign. Now we're left with doing the inverse of multiplication. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 2. K drops down because those cancel out. K is equal to negative 12 divided by negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is positive. 12 divided by 2 is 6. The only thing you'll enter into Canvas is the number 6. The last and final problem for your review is number 10. It says V divided by 9 plus 7 equals 5. So the first thing we're going to do is inverse of subtraction. We're going to minus 7 from both sides. And what V divided by 9 drops down, those cancel out. Equal sign drops down. 5 minus 7. So you're going to subtract here. You're going to do 7 minus 5 is 2. And then because 7's bigger, we keep the negative sign. And then we are left with V divided by 9. So we're going to do the inverse of division. So multiply by 9 on both sides. And these cancel out. V drops down. Equal sign drops down. Negative 2 times 9. A negative times a positive is negative. 2 times 9 is 18. So we end up with negative 18. Our answer that we type in is negative 18. Again, you'll have up to 3 attempts for each one of the assignments. Make sure that you enter in just the number and not V equals. Enter in just negative 18 with no spaces. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to email me at eSutherland@acsc.net.